Hey, guys, welcome back to my channel. This is a story of what if Naruto trained seriously, after the Sasuke retrieval arc. After Naruto and Sasuke's fight at the Valley of the End, Naruto has an epiphany, and everything he thought about changes. Now during his training trip with Jiraya, the blonde trains like crazy, returning to the village, 2.5 years later, as a new shinobi. One who vows to protect the village even if it costs his life. However, those who knew his usual nature wished he didn't change. Before we start, don't forget to like and subscribe to this channel, it means a lot to me, and check the description for the creator of this great fanfic. Now let's start the story. Author note: hello there, the reason for that is the same as the others, with the exception of Full Moon and Hunter Nin, which are scheduled to meet its end quite soon. Now, regarding this story in particular, I've had to take some time and think about the next steps I want it to take. As I stated in previous chapters, the plot would take a different turn of events from canon, regarding the alliance and Akatsuki. So, be sure to expect new adventures for our hero and his comrades, as well as his new partner in life, Yugo. In this chapter, I'll give a mission to Naruto and Yugo that will take him towards Sunagaku. While that happens, Tsunade will have her fair share of patience upon communicating the council about Kumogaku's letter of reply regarding an alliance formed with Konoha and Suna for the sole purpose of defeating Akatsuki for good. Both her leadership and political abilities will be put to test so that she can convince, or not, the council to approve the alliance. In the end of the chapter, I'll focus on Sasuke a little bit. Before proceeding, though, I'll take some time and answer the reviews. Now, here's the chapter. Chapter 17: Old Hatred and New Decisions. Senju Tsunade had awoken this morning, dreading about the gigantic headache that would soon occur. A couple of hours ago, she had sent messages to all the clan heads of Konoha, as well as the Council of Elders, as to inform them of a meeting when she would present a document of extreme importance against the Akatsuki. The word alone had merit, so she didn't need to inform all of them of the document's contents beforehand. With 10 minutes left, Tsunade began to anticipate the possible arguments both in favor and against the Raikage's proposal for an alliance between Kumo, Konoha and Sunagaku for the special and only purpose of defeating the Akatsuki. Of course, she would give first word to the Hyuga clan, considering their past history with Kumo. Hyuga Hiyashi, up to this day, still mourns his brother's actions and could quite possibly vote against Kumo's offer. Tsunade knew that to be bad, considering the Hyuga clan's power within the council. A great majority of the changes that Tsunade managed to approve in Konoha were due to the vote of confidence displayed by the Hyuga clan. Sure, the other ones were important, but it didn't mean much if the Hyuga are the opposition force. Still, the special and only purpose of defeating Akatsuki was an argument she could use to convince Hiyashi that the alliance was only temporary. After hearing Kakashi's report about Naruto's fight against the Hachibi Jinchuriki, she was more than confident that both Naruto and the Raikage's brother would form one hell of a duo, capable of great things together. Not to mention the joint power of destruction as well. A knock on the door was heard, signaling the beginning of Tsunade's headache as her assistant Shizune's head appeared from within the open door. Tsunade-sama, all the clan heads are gathered. It's time to start. The first female Hokage nodded, before leaving one big sigh in dismay. Thanks Shizune, I'll be there in 1 minute. Please send word for Kakashi, he should be T. As if expecting to hear his name, the man suddenly entered the Hokage's office. I guess it's a good thing that I was passing by this neighborhood. Tsunade looked at the Junin for a while, before a smirk appeared on her face. She didn't know why she was so surprised, since Kakashi always seemed to hang around the Hokage's office. Since you went to Kumo and talked with the Raikage, there might be some questions left for you, so I called you to participate as well. I'm sure you know that there is a high possibility that this alliance won't be approved, considering Kumo's history with the Hyuga. And even if the offer is approved by the majority of the council, I still have to tell the Kazekage about it, who will then pass the offer to his council. That last part really bummed Tsunade more than her council. Passing through 2 councils is a major situation. Kumo had trouble with all the major villages, not only with Konohagakure. Kakashi, though, wasn't fazed. I bet the worst is passing the motion through Konoha's council. Gaara has a major vote of confidence from his council. Both his brother and sister are part of it. I hope you're right, because I don't want to go through this mess for everything to be in vain. I'm even thinking of demanding some of Kumo's sake from the Raikage. Tsunade said, before marching towards the door with Kakashi and Shizune behind her. After entering the meeting room, Tsunade felt all eyes on her, while she crossed the room to reach her seat, flanked by both Kakashi and Shizune. While walking, she briefly studied everyone's reactions so as to verify those that would be more likely to oppose her in this manner. The majority of the ninja clan heads had the same faces as she remembered. The head of the Nara clan had a look of clear boredom as was expected of Shikaku. Chusa Akamaiki and Inoichi Yamanaka were both smiling, like usual. The Aburame and Hyuga were collected and more reserved. The other clan heads were the same as well. The elders were unreadable, much to her frustration. In the end, though, only one elder's opinion mattered, because the other two would just follow his lead. This influential man was sitting right in front of the Hokage's seat on the other side of the table, with his only visible eye closed. Apart from Hiashi in this manner, Danzo was Tsunade's worst political enemy. Tsundade could loathe him as much as she wanted, but she couldn't deny that he has a great amount of influence over this council's decisions. Countless times she remembered her old sensei being outvoted because of Danzu's actions. If she had issues with the Hyuga clan regarding the approval of the alliance, she now had to think about the possibility of Danzo meddling as well. Tsunade approached her seat and addressed everyone appropriately. Welcome distinguished clan heads and elders of Konoha. I appreciate you all for coming here and I promise that this will be as brief as possible. Typical bureaucratic greeting, but Tsunade couldn't simply start the meeting, cursing everyone and throwing Kumo's offer for them to vote for, without first explaining everything to its finest detail. As all of you know, 1 week ago, I've sent a team lead by elite Junin Hitaki Kakashi towards Kumogakure in order to inform the Raikage of the Akatsuki organization's existence and how dangerous they can be. At first, the man was reluctant to even receive the info, saying that one small organization such as Akatsuki couldn't be considered a threat to one of the 5 great hidden villages. After extensive persuasion from Kakashi and his team, the Raikage, reluctantly, agreed to take a look at the info we presented. Of course, Tsunade couldn't simply reveal that the persuasion was actually a fight between Jinchurikis. She allowed some time for the information to sink in, before she continued. It took less than a second for the proud Yondaime Raikage to realize the danger posed by the organization, after taking a brief look on the known associates. Excuse me Hokage-sama, but why were we called here just for a mission report? The head of the Inuzuka clan asked, demonstrating her lack of patience in this manner. Before I explain the reason why I called you all here, I felt it was only reasonable to explain what happened beforehand. Now, the mission ended in success with a letter of reply by the Raikage. She took some time, knowing that she had the council's full attention right now. He starts the letter appreciating the information supplied by us, but the second part is the very reason why I called this meeting to order. The Raikage wishes to form an alliance with us and Sunagakure for the special purpose of defeating Akatsuki. The sudden silence that ruled the room was deafening as everyone, rather unconsciously, started looking at Hiashi for his reaction. Like Tsunade, everyone remembered the episode that pretty much solidified the Hyuga clan's reservations against Kumogakure. Hyuga Hiashi was clearly affected by the sudden news as something deeply buried within him resurfaced once more. The death of his brother, on that faithful day, affected him. Hiashi, I think everyone here knows what Kumo has done to your family. Hence the main reason why I called this meeting. As Hokage, I grant you the right to, single-handedly, annul this alliance should it ever be approved by this council. She couldn't lie, because Hiashi would see right through it with his eyes. She had to speak to him with complete honesty, otherwise she wouldn't have his trust. Hiashi looked at the woman from the corner of his eyes, before closing it for a second. If I have the right to veto, then it's only logical to exclude the Hyuga clan's vote in this particular manner. I'll wait until the last vote to speak. Tsunade nodded, seeing as the man was right. Okay then, unless someone here has more objections, shall we move on to the votes? Tsunade asked, quite surprised that only Hiashi opened his mouth so far. With Naruto, lemon time, so be warned unaware that his name was mentioned in the council meeting, Naruto was quite busy inside his bedroom. He was busy just lying on his bed as he watched his gorgeous and sexy girlfriend stripping. One thing that Yugo often teased about was that she, in her Chunin days, was often summoned to perform the seduction and assassination missions that no other girl was willing to perform, except for Anko of course. That being said, she knew a lot of ways to render the target helpless against her control, which was just fine for Naruto. Lust associated with the danger of losing his life ended up inspiring his dirty mind into picturing the possible services provided by his mistress. Add to the fact that the woman was taking her battle clothes off and the blonde was shivering in anticipation. Being sensitive to swift emotion changes, Yugo smirked at the reaction as she slowly unclipped her chest armor, while looking straight at Naruto's deep cerulean blue eyes. She could feel how much her man wanted her right now and her body responded to Naruto's desire. After the chest armor, came the white straps that separated the armor from her bare soft and desired skin. Instead of unwrapping it, though, Naruto was surprised when Yugo took her ninjutsu and performed a quick slicing motion inches from her skin. Much to his surprise and utter amazement, the ninjutsu only sliced the wrappings and revealed her breasts. Perfect was the only word that came out of Naruto's mouth as he remembered the last time he took some time admiring them. The woman knew that Naruto's eyes were fixated at the ladies, so she opted to play a little with them, before seeing a small smile appear on his mouth. She already knew what passed through her perverted boyfriend's mind with that smile alone. Still with her Anbu pants on and her boots, she marched towards the bed and slowly climbed on top of her boyfriend, leaning towards his face. Yugo let out a sudden moan in surprise as Naruto's right hand grasped her left breast, before slowly massaging it. Meanwhile, she took her right hand and went downstairs, 100% sure that she would get the desired effect from her boyfriend. As soon as she touched it, she regretted her actions, simply because it not only got her desired effect, but also something happened inside of her. It was due to the number of flashbacks that passed through her mind of their previous times together. After that, she couldn't take it much longer and started kissing Naruto as if his mouth was a drug she couldn't live without. Their bodies were intertwining in random movements as each took their fair share of time pleasuring the other through the use of their hands. The makeout session ended up sending heated signals to their hormones and it didn't take long for them to let go of their control and ravish each other's mouth. Both of Naruto's arms wrapped Yugo in a fierce hug, before grabbing Yugo's Anbu pants. He ripped it off, before caressing her butt. The woman was, if possible, even more aroused at the display of strength. She took care of the rest and was now became completely naked next to her lover. Her hands returned to Naruto's member, but Naruto's hands also reached downstairs, earning a smile in pleasure from the woman. She knew what would follow next as Naruto's hands started massaging her clitoris slowly, performing small finger thrusts inside from time to time. The heat in the room was high enough to increase the amount of sweat produced by the couple, while proceeding with the act of lovemaking. Both of them enjoyed the feeling of direct skin contact added with teasing from both parties. Right now, Naruto's hand was massaging Yugo's lower area, while the woman was busy passing her hand over his member's tip. Neither allowed the other to let out a moan in pleasure, though, as they were involved in a hot kissing moment. It turned out to be a daunting task as each carved for a few seconds of breath. As soon as the kissing stopped, Yugo let out a long and sexy moan that practically hypnotized the blonde into believing that she wanted more. A needless assumption to be made, he reasoned. He immediately flipped positions and placed his body on top of Yugo, before using his tongue around her entire body. The tongue contact surprised the woman as she looked at how the blonde was working her breasts. His eyes were closed as he slowly rounded her nipples with his tongue. Biting her inner lip, she reached down and grabbed Naruto's hard member, before initiating a furious hand job. She caught his subtle loss of air and smiled, before using her free hand to slowly caress his blonde hair. She always wondered why it was so soft, since her boyfriend wasn't much interested in washing his hair. She never complained, though. You seem to be quite eager, Yugo-chan. While maintaining the attention to her chest, his eyes were locked with hers, as he waited for her response. His tongue, then, started its descent and landed right where Yugo wanted it. You actually took longer this time. As if anticipating Naruto's actions, Yugo immediately bended her body backwards at the sudden explosion of arousal as Naruto's tongue found its way inside her. She immediately released her hold on Naruto's member because of it as her body trembled in excitement. Naruto's hands forced her thigh to open the path for him and she didn't resist. Instead, both her hands started massaging her breasts, while screaming Naruto's name, asking for more tongue thrusts. Naruto happily attended and even increased the pace to which Yugo appreciated in kind by letting out a much louder moan. She lifted her body a bit as to admire her boyfriend's work. They remained like that for a good 10 minutes and Yugo wished she could remain like that forever. Unfortunately, her body carved for more than just his tongue. Oh Kami, I want it now Naru-kun. The blonde smiled and immediately released his tongue from active duty, before placing his member in a straight path towards Yugao's entry point. He took his time entering slowly, while opening her inner walls. Yugao could feel her insides being filled by his member and even rolled her eyes, after the blonde reached the back wall. Afterwards, he got into position on top of her and initiated the thrust sequence. The couple hugged each other and kissed, while the blonde increased the pace. Maintaining the kiss, Yugao let out silent moans, showing how she was struggling to maintain the makeout session while feeling Naruto's member filling her inside walls. When the kiss ended, the couple stared at each other with passion. Between hitched breaths of ecstasy, neither felt the interest to do anything other than look at the other's eyes. "I love you, Naruto-kun." As soon as the words came out of Yugao's mouth, a broad smile appeared on her boyfriend's face. She smiled even more when a lone tear escaped his eyes. It was the first time someone ever said that to him. "I love you too, Yugo-chan." After that, he landed a fierce and passionate kiss on her lips, which Yugo returned eagerly as Naruto remained the penetration. The couple remained the act of love-making for quite a while, hugging each other as well. This was their moment and no one would dare ruin it. End of lemon. After the love-making, the two considered their options. Both were covered with sweat from the love-making and a co-op shower would be the most suitable choice. But, instead, they simply remained in bed as Yugo was busy resting her head on Naruto's chest. That moment right there was everything both cherished. Both were surrounded with life and death situations, with Naruto being hunted by the Akatsuki because of his Jinchuriki status and Yugo being an Anbu captain. These precious moments together made all the difference in their worlds. That's why neither one of them ever felt the need to go out on dates or even appear to the public as boyfriend and girlfriend. In Naruto's world, the only ones who knew were Kakashi and the two Sanins. In Yugao's world, her entire Anbu squad knew, but they were her family as much as the Sanins and Kakashi were Naruto's. They were the ones that mattered to this couple. This couldn't be better, right, Naruto-kun? Yugo could see his smile that seemed to brighten the room every time. You got that right. Their only complaint was that Konoha didn't have a delivery service. Back at the meeting, a lot of time passed since the voting began and Tsunade was busy massaging her temples while listening to a minor ninja clan head announcing his vote against the alliance. The reasoning for such was valid. Pretty much all of those against it had every right to be upset at Kumogakure for their actions at the last great shinobi war. The man that just spoke belonged to a clan famous for their water-based techniques. The clan supplied a great load of new water ninjutsu for the hidden village in the leaves, and some of the techniques managed to save quite a lot of lives. The clan, though, suffered a great many casualties from the hands of Kumo's finest. So, the Hokage couldn't take away the merit of his decision. So far, the vote was pretty much tied. In fact, only one clan remained from voting, the Hyuga clan. Throughout the entire meeting, Hiyashi remained silent with his eyes closed and his arms crossed. Well, after hearing everyone's votes and reasons for such, I announce that the voting is tied right now. Only one remains, so I pass the word to you, Hiyashi. The destiny of this alliance is hereby decided by the Hyuga clan. Everyone who knew Tsunade up close knew the meaning behind her detached tone right now. She had lost all hope of the alliance's approval. She now depended on the head of the Hyuga clan to vote in favor of an alliance with a village that tried to kidnap his daughter Hinata and managed to kill his twin brother Hisashi. It was the same as expecting Sasuke to vote against his brother Itachi's death. It simply wasn't possible in her mind. Hiyashi, for his part, opened his eyes, but remained with his arms crossed. He didn't stand up like the others, since he preferred to remain seated. Since the beginning of wars waged against Konohagakure, Kumogakure has been an enemy. I remember my deceased father and grandfather telling me about their actions during the first great ninja war, and since then, I've learned to watch out for them. But it wasn't until that fateful day when the Kumogakure emissary attempted to kidnap my daughter, which resulted in my brother's death, that I openly expressed my hatred for them. Hiyashi spoke, with enough calm, about what was possibly the worst day of his life. Hisashi's death affected almost everyone in the clan, including both my daughter and my nephew Neji, up to the point that the boy resented the main family because of it. Therefore, Hokage-sama, based on those facts alone, my vote would be against the alliance. Tsunade released a sigh in dismay and nodded, but something inside her mind repeated the word, would, that escaped from the man's mouth. Nevertheless, with the situation we are facing right now, namely the organization Akatsuki and the danger they pose to our village, it would be quite selfish on my part to believe that Konohagakure alone could deal with the current threat. The known associates from the organization are dangerous enough in their own right, not to mention the other members we are still due to meet. For all we know, both Itachi and Kisame may be their weakest members. Kumogakure is in possession of 2 Jinchurikis, both of them in full control of their tailed beasts. That's a power that we cannot ignore, and it would be in our favor against Akatsuki. Therefore, my vote is in favor of the alliance, but for the sole purpose of defeating Akatsuki, nothing more. As soon as Hiyashi spoke, silence ruled the meeting as everyone looked at the pupil-less man in front of them with clear surprise. Even the Hokage was wide-eyed at this amazing turn of events. The one person she expected to ruin the alliance ended up saving it. With a smile on her face, she grabbed the official Hokage seal and branded the offer with it, before passing to Shizune for the necessary arrangements. Now that the first and, in her opinion, hardest part was over, it now came the time to pass the ball to the Kazekage and their council. And she had the perfect ninja for the assignment of communicating Gaara about the approval. After all, it was their idea to talk with the other cages in the first place. If Tsunade wasn't mistaken, Yugo was on a slight vacation right now. Perhaps, this little trip might do her some good as well. With Naruto still complaining about the lack of delivery services in Konoha, Naruto and Yugo went to the kitchen and fixed some sandwiches for them. Their plan right now was to finish their sandwiches and go straight to bed. Neither one had any plans right now, and sleeping sounded like a winner. However, it was in these moments that something happened and ruined their moment. This time, it came from a knock on the door. Immediately, Naruto and Yugo looked at each other for a while and sighed in dismay. Naruto didn't have many visitors, if any at all. Putting on some light clothes, since he was still naked, the blonde approached the door and opened before seeing Kakashi with his normal salute. Yo Naruto, can I come in? I have some important business to discuss. Sure Kakashi-sensei. Wait just a minute. Yugo-chan, Kakashi is coming in. The man had enough experience to know that if he were to enter the apartment right now, he would have seen his ex-Anbu partner without her clothes. Practically imagining what occurred throughout the day, the man felt the need to let out his perverted laughter. The blonde seemed to catch on that, seeing as Jiraya had the same look on his face at times. Both of them always pictured themselves reading and writing a book describing everything in full detail. You're not thinking what I guess you're thinking, huh, Kakashi-sensei? Kakashi looked surprised at his student, before waving dismissively, as in trying to dissuade his student of that idea. Evening Kakashi-senpai. Yugo said as she appeared behind Naruto with black shorts and a sleeveless shirt. Kakashi greeted the woman and entered the apartment as Naruto closed the door. Once the 3 shinobi were at the kitchen, Kakashi threw a scroll straight at Naruto. The blonde caught it and looked at his sensei. He knew what that meant. He had to leave Yugo once more. Something in that sounded weird for him. Where to this time, sensei? Yugo was sad as well, but maintained a stoic demeanor, while waiting for Kakashi's explanation. The man then took his time explaining what happened today, beginning from the Raikage's letter and finishing with the alliance's approval. He explained that the proposal must pass through the Sunagakure Council's analysis, hence the location of the mission. Naruto sighed once more and nodded at his sensei. Kakashi could see the sudden sad atmosphere in the room. The blonde dismissed himself to get dressed for the assignment, leaving Kakashi alone with Yugo. What's up with him? Kakashi asked, but needed to rephrase it. What's up with both of you? Naruto had just arrived from that mission to Kumogakure and were hoping to spend some more time together. With the Anbu missions and his, we barely spent time together. Kakashi smiled, though. Why are you smiling? Is my sadness amusing to you, Kakashi-senpai? The man remembered how threatening this tone of hers really was, so he decided to stop teasing. He knew about her abilities with a sword. I never said that I would be the one to go with him, Yugo. Do you still have your old Junin clothes? It took actually a minute for the woman to understand what was going on, before she smiled at the man. She left the table and went to tell the news to Naruto in a happier tone that Kakashi was accustomed to seeing. He figured that right now his presence was not necessary, so he went to the door. Before closing the door, he heard Naruto asking if Yugo even had a Junin outfit, considering that she has been in Anbu for a long time now. Next day Naruto and Yugo left Konoha at the break of dawn, considering the mission's importance. Naruto was wearing the same outfit he always wore, but Yugo's was different. Not hotter than her Anbu outfit in Naruto's opinion, but it fitted her nicely. She didn't let go of the Anbu-style black pants and added with fishnet shirt, covered by the Junin vest. She never enjoyed using clothes that would restrict her sword movements, so she always preferred sleeveless clothes. It didn't mean that Naruto stopped commenting on how sexy she was in ninja clothes. She joked with him about quitting with the flattery, but inside she loved every single second of it. This was their first mission and she remembered to thank the Hokage for it. Surprisingly so, before leaving, they were greeted by Kakashi at the gates together with the Hokage. This was perhaps the first time Kakashi was early for something. It didn't take them long to leave the village's security perimeter as they charged towards Sunagaku with extreme speeds. Time was of the essence, after all. Okay Yugo-chan, seeing as you're the leader of the mission, how shall we proceed? The woman could feel a playful tone, but decided to go along with it. Well, seeing as I'm the boss, I can order you to do anything, right? Otherwise, I could report your insubordination. Now her tone indicated something different and it looked like Naruto caught it right away. His girlfriend had some sort of kinky switch every now and then. It didn't mean that he would be complaining about it anytime soon, if ever at all. Yeah, so what is it that the boss requires, then? She turned at him with a smile that scared him a little bit. Even to a ninja, Suna required a 2-day trip, that meant that they would have to set up camp by the end of the day. With Sasuke lying alone in one of the many rooms stationed inside one of Orochimaru's hidden bases, Uchiha Sasuke had been looking at the ceiling for quite a long time now. The need for sleep didn't come to him as often as it should and it had started since the encounter with the Sannin Jiraya. 3 years ago, he betrayed Konohagakure, the very village his ancestors helped create, for one purpose. Gain power and with that power, kill his brother once and for all. Throughout the 3 years, Sasuke threw himself into a hard training, studying under a Sannin of Orochimaru's caliber. He managed to accumulate a great load of knowledge through his eyes up to the point that his level has surpassed that of a mid-level Junin in terms of skill. That's not to count his cursed seal level 1 and 2, both of which gives him an edge over high-level Junins. Yet, after all the training, after all that hard labor, Jiraiya hardly had to work in order to beat the shit out of him. The Uchiha clan's pride is simply uncontrollable and for Sasuke, being beaten so easily, really did hurt. However, what hurt even more was the pervert's comment about the fact that the Dobi was stronger than him. Getting beaten by a Sannin, he could understand given that even Orochimaru had trouble with the guy. The thought of being inferior to Naruto in skill simply wasn't believable. The Dobi was simply too much behind him 3 years ago, that even if Naruto managed to learn some stuff, he would be miles away from even being comparable. There was simply no chance in hell that the Dobi became that strong. Being around Orochimaru and Kabuto, Sasuke heard quite a lot of what happened recently. How they conversed about Naruto being able to deal with 2 Akatsuki agents Deidara of Iwagakure and Sasori of Sunagakure, both considered S-ranked missing nins. According to the information, Naruto's knowledge of wind ninjutsu was quite considerable, so Sasuke wondered about the possibility that the Dobi managed to learn elemental manipulation in only 3 years. He has been practicing since he was 9 years old under his father's tutelage. What did Naruto have that he didn't? 3 years ago, Sasuke truly believed he was being held back by Konoha, but now he couldn't help but realize that there wasn't much more the Sannin Orochimaru could give him. Perhaps, it was due time to go out there and fight some serious level shinobi and perhaps even copy new jutsus with the Sharingan. Itachi would meet his end by his hand one day, but right now he simply couldn't stay here any longer. The boy didn't need to be a genius to realize that his sensei would do everything in his grasp to stop Sasuke from fleeing. Sasuke also knew what Orochimaru's plans were for him and to tell the truth, he didn't believe it to be enough to defeat Itachi. Only a true Uchiha could defeat another, he thought. In order to escape, Sasuke had to take advantage of the man's increasing disease. Once he escaped, he would work twice as hard in order to master his skills against powerful ninjas. With Naruto, a day and a half has passed since Naruto and Yugo left Konoha and they were already running throughout the desert. Since Naruto had already taken this path, Yugo placed him inches in front of her, so that they could travel much faster. Naruto would use his wind skills to decrease the air resistance in front of him and compensate it behind him, thus increasing his speed as well as Yugo's. If someone were to study more closely, it seemed as if there was a force field surrounding both of them. Yugo had to admit that she had never felt this light before in her life. The noise from each step on the ground was almost non-existent. Once in the desert, the couple could see the place where Sunagakure was created appearing on the horizon. It would take 30 minutes more give or take for them to reach the hidden village of sand. Because of Naruto's technique, he ended up lifting a small path of sand, so if someone were to look from a telescope, He or she could spot a considerable ball of sand moving in a straight line for Suna. The gate guard did notice and warned the cage immediately. Gaara took a while, but smiled upon feeling the person's identity along with someone else he didn't know. He asked his siblings to greet his fellow Jinchuriki brother. While going back to his office, Gaara hoped that Naruto came with some good news. Author note. Well, that's the end of the chapter. So what do you think? I'd like to hear some input about my work so far. Therefore, in the end, I'm always interested in quality written fanfiction. Should any of you consider taking the challenge that is sending a link in the comments of the best fanfiction story, can you do that anyhow? I will wait for your comments, it boosts me to make more cheerfully. See ya. Thanks for listening, I hope you guys liked it. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a like for more what ifs and support the author. See you guys in the next video.